This is 3 pistols that I got, all used. 2 of them are functional, barely. One of those is very, very tatty. One of them, the middle one, is the expensive one. Now, initially, this black gun came with a black slide, and it looked very, very good, and it was a prime slide. I paid 190 quid for that because the slide alone and 3 spare mags made it worth it. But there is that prime slide on an existing Wilson. The silver slide did come on this horrible Bitzer Wilson Colt thing, which, as you can see, is really, really tatty. It's the wrong slide on the wrong length of frame, which also marks up as being Colt. So this is going to take a lot of work. It's going to need a new frame, it's going to need new hammer, new grip safety, it's going to need new trigger, and it's going to need a new mainspring housing as well, because it's going to be much, much shorter. About 35 quid this gun works out, and that's bearing in mind that the metal slide is now on there, and the metal slide that was on there is on a different gun. Let's assume 35 quid and a free slide for this gun. 190 quid, and again, about 35 quid. I don't like Infinities, I can't stand them. They're just really garish, and because every fucker out there's got a fucking TM high capper, or even worse, an Armourer Works. And I hate the Armourer Works just because it's one of the best guns you can buy out of the box. Why can't they put their technology into a gun that is actually attractive looking? Anyone who owns an Armourer Works knows full well, if they've had it for more than a year, it does wear out very, very quickly. Whereas this one here is going to be 15 years old, and it's still going to be going. However, this one is an Infinity Pro Killer that's not. The Pro Killer came as a select fire gun, either 3.9 with a compensator or in full 6-inch. This one here is a 5-inch slide and a 6-inch standard frame with no select fire mechanism, and the compensator, the 3.9, has gone onto here and screwed in the bottom, and they've not done a bad job of it, to be honest, and it's not as horrendous as it should be. The slide jams. The hammer spring is way too tough, and so is the recoil spring. You can see the barrel sits there all horribly. But again, for 35 quid, that's good, because I've got enough parts here to make that a great gun, and I'll refinish the entire thing and make it all gorgeous again. This is going to require nothing but the grips changing over. As you can see, the grips on this, because it is a Western Arms, they paint metal grips. And it does mean it chips off. I have opted to take apart the silver slide black frame Wilson, because A, it's nasty and filthy. It's pretty grubby, look at that. Gammy as all fuck. The grips, take the black ones off, and I pop the emblems out via the little hole in the back, and I have put them inside these lovely ones here. The little tiny chip out of that one, I can live with that tiny chip, but those should be quite nice on the black frame. A lot prettier now, a lot cleaner. It's had a refinish as well because I could not resist. I forgot to put the trigger back in there, didn't I? Look at that, what a cunt. That's much better, isn't it? With a trigger in it. You know, always put triggers in your guns, otherwise you look like a fucking idiot. I've not bothered sharpening up any of the sears. This is not going to be for any kind of mad use. There she is, back together. Gorgeous Wilson Combat markings on it. That is fantastic. I'm going to have to swap out a lot of parts just to make sure it runs and looks more like a Wilson. My grip safety will have to get swapped out, which is no problem because this frame will have the correct cuts for a beaver tail, and I can use black or silver. The first issue I do have is that the valve knocker is attached to the hammer right there. Alright, that's not very good because I don't have any of those hammers. I've got some amazing Sheriff steel hammers, I've got some really good parts, but I do not have one of those. My option might have to be to bob the hammer, and that is everyone's typical job, let's bob the hammer. People do that a lot and they make a real tits of it when they do it. It needs to be very, very pointed. It makes the gun difficult to use because you're going to use a bobbed hammer, you're going to want to have the entire back of the frame bobbed as well. You want to bob everything at the back. The frame will need to be completely refinished because it is a little bit tatty. But that's no problem, that's something that I do every other day of the week. That's not a big deal at all. After a little bit more searching, I have done a miracle. I did a miracle. I managed to find a Shabur Custom Works style hammer. Let's do a comparison quickly. This is a regular hammer for a Western Arms Magna series. As you can see, that's how it looks. This one is a Shabur Custom Works 3. It has a notch cut all the way through to the back. It's got a small section in the middle where a spring and a retaining ball sit. It's over here. It's at the valve knocker. It impacts with the mag release valve. This one here is a Shabur Custom Works 2. As you can see, the notch doesn't run all the way through to the bottom. So we're going to cut a notch in the bottom and see if that can make this hammer work inside the gun. There it is. As you can see, that does now ping back up. It's not a very strong spring inside it. I've given this a really chromatic finish because a chromatic paint dries very hard and very durable. That means over the top, if I then lay a mixture of satin and matte varnish mixed together, and it has to be a decent kind of way, you can't just pop to Halfords and buy some shit paint. Although Halfords paint is pretty good, you have to mix your own paints up, which is what I've done. As you can see, that has come out like a bead blasted finish. So once we lay the grips on it, and it won't be these grips because these grips are fuck. Once the grips are laid on it, you'll get the idea. I've managed to find another mainspring housing for a V10. Pure fluke. Absolute fluke. I was going through bags of TM bits and it happened to be in there. So let's get that inside this gun. Do I put some nice Wilson combat emblems inside these grips? Fuck yeah, let's do that. I've changed the sears a little bit, but I've given that a really quiet trigger pull. I'm going to try and see if we can, 1 click, 2 click. There it goes. But I am over the moon with that. I'm sure you can see a huge difference. Fucking better be able to see a fucking huge difference to how it started to how it finished up. There's basically nothing I can do to this to make it so that I like it. because I don't like it. So I'm just going to fuck around with it for as long as possible until I get an outcome that I actually like. As you can see, there's some very fine stippling I've now put on there. It's a case of stippling it all over with the soldering iron and then really running it smooth. I don't recall seeing one of these that hasn't got a fucking meat tenderizer, stupid looking thing on the end of it. But I'm going to try and bore out the inside of there completely so that I can then run a much longer, still got a 5-inch outer barrel on here. I'm going to try and get a 6-inch outer barrel, which will then run very deep inside of here. Not too shabby, is she? I made the muzzle end of the barrel conical, and then I milled away just enough on the inside of the compensator so that when the slide returned forward and pushed the entire chamber and barrel into battery, it couldn't go too far, and it was just deep enough that everything would return absolutely perfectly. I reduced the power of the recoil spring just a little bit. I'll have to hold the slide release down because it's empty. Here, the kick on that is echoing the entire room. I'm very, very pleased with that. Let's line up all 3 guns and see what our little spend got us.